The galaxy had always been a dangerous place, a vast and uncharted expanse filled with civilizations that rose and fell like waves on a cosmic ocean. For Earth, a relatively young planet on the outskirts of the Milky Way, the dangers of the universe seemed distant, more myth than reality. Humanity had spent centuries looking up at the stars, wondering if they were alone. But as they ventured further into space, they discovered that they were far from the only intelligent beings in the cosmos. The discovery of alien life was both a marvel and a terror, for the galaxy was not just filled with wonders, but also with horrors beyond imagination. Among these horrors was the Milan Empire, a sprawling galactic superpower that ruled a third of the Milky Way with an iron tentacle. The Milan were a ruthless species, their society built on conquest, subjugation, and the belief that they were the superior race destined to dominate all others. They had crushed countless civilizations under their heel, enslaving millions and leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. To the Milan, Earth was just another insignificant speck in the galaxy, a planet rich in resources and manpower, but militarily weak compared to the alien juggernaut. The Milan Empire had been eyeing Earth for some time, waiting for the right moment to strike, and that moment came when they made the fatal mistake of kidnapping the daughter of Earth's president. The abduction of the president's daughter, an 8-year-old girl named Lila, was a calculated move by the Milan, a tactic they had used countless times before to force other civilizations into submission. They believed that by taking the most precious thing from Earth's leader, they could break the will of humanity and bring them to their knees. The demand was simple: total surrender of Earth and all its colonies, or the girl would be executed, her death broadcasted across the galaxy as a testament to the Milan's supremacy. The ultimatum was delivered in a cold, mechanical voice, devoid of any emotion, as if the life of a child was nothing more than a bargaining chip in their game of galactic domination. The news of Lila's kidnapping sent shockwaves through Earth, a planet that had never before faced such a direct and personal threat from an alien power. The people of Earth, who had once viewed the stars with wonder and curiosity, now looked up in fear, knowing that their world was on the brink of destruction. The president, usually composed and measured in her decisions, was devastated by the loss of her daughter. Lila was not just her child, but a symbol of hope for humanity, a bright light in a dark and uncertain future. The president's initial reaction was one of despair, her heart breaking at the thought of her daughter being held captive by such cruel and merciless beings. But despair soon turned to anger, a deep, burning rage that consumed her and spread to the highest levels of Earth's government. The Milan had crossed a line, and Earth would not bow to their tyranny. Unbeknownst to the Milan, Earth had been preparing for this day for decades. Since the early days of the 21st century, the greatest human minds had secretly toiled on a classified project deep beneath the Siberian wasteland. It was a project born out of a long-forgotten prophecy, a warning passed down through the ages from a precursor civilization that had once thrived in the galaxy eons before the Milan Empire even existed. This ancient civilization, known only as the Precursors, had foreseen the rise of the Milan and the devastation they would bring to the galaxy. In their final days, the Precursors had disassembled one of their most powerful warships, a vessel of unimaginable power and advanced technology, and smuggled it to Earth. The ship was a gift and a warning, a relic of a bygone era that was to be kept hidden until the day it was needed to defend humanity from the same fate that had befallen the Precursors. The warship, named Retribution, was buried deep beneath the Siberian tundra, its systems dormant, waiting for the moment it would be called upon to protect the planet it had been entrusted to. For generations, the warship lay hidden, its existence known only to a select few within Earth's highest circles. The knowledge of the ship's existence was passed down from one generation to the next, a closely guarded secret that was shared only with those who were deemed worthy to know. Over the years, Earth's brightest scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to restore and upgrade the ancient ship, incorporating the most advanced human technology with the Precursors' designs. They knew that one day the Retribution would be the key to humanity's survival, the last line of defense against an enemy that would stop at nothing to see Earth destroyed. Now, With Lila held captive and the Malan Empire threatening to burn Earth to the ground, the time had come to reveal the retribution to the world. Earth's leaders made the decision there would be no negotiation, no surrender. Instead, they would strike back with a vengeance that would echo across the stars. The plan was simple yet audacious. The retribution, Earth's most powerful and secret weapon, would be activated and sent on a strike mission into the heart of Malan space. The goal was to rescue Lila and deliver a message to the Malan Emperor that humanity would not be cowed, that Earth would fight for its survival no matter the cost. The mission would be led by Logan Skora, a seasoned Navy SEAL turned space commando who had been handpicked for his skills and tenacity. Logan was a man who had spent his life fighting against impossible odds, a warrior who had seen the worst that the galaxy had to offer and had emerged victorious time and time again. He was a maverick, often insubordinate, but his superiors knew that he was the best man for the job. He had the experience, the skills, and the determination to see the mission through to the end, no matter what it took. Logan received his orders in the dead of night, the urgency of the situation clear in the faces of those who briefed him. The stakes were higher than anything he had ever faced before. The mission was not just about saving a little girl, it was about sending a message to the entire galaxy that humanity would not be pushed around, that they would fight back with everything they had. Logan knew that the risks were astronomical, that the chance of success was slim, but he also knew that failure was not an option. The fate of Earth and the future of humanity rested on his shoulders. The retribution was a sight to behold as it emerged from its underground hangar, its sleek, angular design a testament to both human ingenuity and the advanced technology of the precursors. The warship was massive, dwarfing any vessel in Earth's fleet, and it bristled with weapons that had not been seen in the galaxy for millennia. Its hull was made of a mysterious alloy that was impervious to most known forms of attack, and its engines were powered by a fusion core that could propel the ship across the galaxy in a matter of days. The Retribution was not just a ship, it was a weapon, a symbol of humanity's resolve and determination to survive. As the ship's systems came online, a hum of energy filled the air, and the massive engines roared to life, sending a shockwave through the Siberian tundra. Logan stood on the bridge of the Retribution, surrounded by his team, Earth's best and brightest soldiers, each one hand-picked for their skills and bravery. They were a diverse group, hailing from all corners of the planet, but they were united in their mission to save Lila and protect their world. The tension on the bridge was palpable as they prepared for launch. Logan could see the determination in the eyes of his team, the same burning resolve that he felt in his own heart. They all knew the stakes, knew that the next few hours would decide the fate of not just a kidnapped girl, but of the entire human race. The order was given, and the Retribution's engines engaged, propelling the ship into the sky with a deafening roar. As they ascended through the atmosphere, the crew could see the Malan blockade in orbit, a massive fleet of alien warships that had surrounded Earth, cutting off all communication and supply lines. The Malan ships were sleek and deadly, their hulls bristling with weapons, but the Retribution was unlike anything they had ever encountered. As the warship broke through the blockade, its weapons systems engaged, unleashing a barrage of firepower that tore through the Malan fleet like a hot knife through butter. The alien ships were no match for the Retribution's advanced weaponry, and within minutes, the blockade was shattered, leaving a trail of burning wreckage in the ship's wake. The Retribution didn't stop to engage the remaining Malan forces. Their mission was too important, and time was of the essence. The ship accelerated to a significant fraction of light. Speed, leaving Earth behind as it hurtled across the stars toward the Malan throne world. The journey through hyperspace was a blur of swirling colors and distorted light, the fabric of reality bending around the ship as it traveled faster than the speed of light. The crew was on high alert, their senses heightened by the knowledge that they were heading into the heart of enemy territory. Logan spent the journey reviewing the mission briefing, his face hardening with each new piece of information. The Malan throne world was a fortress, heavily guarded and nearly impenetrable. The plan was to use the Retribution's advanced cloaking technology to slip past their defenses, breach the planet's atmosphere, and execute a lightning raid on the capital city. Logan and his team would then infiltrate the Emperor's palace, rescue Lila, and extract her before the Milan knew what hit them. It was a bold plan, one that required precision, timing, and a lot of luck. But Logan was confident in his team's abilities. They had trained for this moment, and they were ready to do whatever it took to bring Lila home. As the Retribution approached the Milan throne world, the tension on the bridge reached a fever pitch. The ship's sensors picked up a massive fleet of Milan warships in orbit around the planet, each one bristling with weapons and defenses. But the Retribution's cloaking technology held, and the ship slipped past the alien fleet undetected, descending into the planet's atmosphere with barely a ripple. The surface of the Milan throne world was a stark contrast to Earth. The landscape was dominated by jagged mountains and deep canyons, the air thick with the scent of sulfur and ash. The capital city, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and dark, foreboding architecture, lay at the heart of the planet, surrounded by a massive energy shield that crackled with power. The Retribution hovered above the city, its cloaking field shimmering as it prepared to deploy Logan and his team. The plan was to disable the shield generator and clear the way for the Retribution to unleash its full firepower on the palace, creating a diversion while Logan's team infiltrated the complex and rescued Lila. Logan led his team to the drop bay where a small, sleek shuttle awaited them. The shuttle was equipped with advanced cloaking technology, allowing them to slip past the Milan defenses undetected. As they boarded the shuttle, Logan could see the determination in the eyes of his team. The same burning resolve that he felt in his own heart. They all knew the stakes, knew that the next few hours would decide the fate of not just a kidnapped girl, but of the entire human race. The shuttle detached from the Retribution, its cloaking field shimmering as it plunged toward the planet's surface. The ride was turbulent, the shuttle shaking as it descended through the thick, acrid atmosphere. Logan gripped the controls, weaving between patrolling Milan fighters that passed within meters of their hull. Alarms blared as they entered the lower atmosphere, the shuttle's shields straining against the friction. Logan's knuckles whitened on the stick as he guided them through the roiling clouds. The shuttle shuddered violently before bursting into clear skies, the desolate landscape of the throne world stretching out below them. Logan spotted a sheltered valley and set the shuttle down with a bone-jarring thud. "Gear up," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "It's going to be a cold walk." The team donned their environmental suits and armed themselves with the latest in human weaponry, each soldier carrying enough firepower to take down a small army. They moved out, the harsh winds of the throne world biting at their exposed skin as they trudged across the frozen wasteland. Hours passed as they navigated the treacherous terrain, the bitter cold seeping into their bones despite the suit's protection. Finally, they crested a ridge, and the sight that met them made Logan's blood run cold. Below them, nestled in the valley, was the shield generator, a massive structure surrounded by crackling plasma cannons and patrolling Milan troops. The generator's energy shield flickered in the dim light, a constant reminder of the immense power it held. Logan checked the schematic on his wrist computer, his mind racing as he formulated a plan. The generator was heavily guarded with multiple layers of security that would make a frontal assault nearly impossible. But Logan had never been one to shy away from a challenge. There, he pointed to a maintenance tunnel that led directly into the heart of the generator. "That's our way in. We'll slip past the patrols, disable the generator, and get the hell out before they know what hit them." The team moved out, their movements swift and silent as they approached the tunnel. They bypassed the external security systems with ease. Logan's hay. Weapons at the ready as they advanced deeper into the complex. They encountered little resistance at first, the Milan troops unaware of the intruders in their midst. But as they approached the central chamber, the alarms suddenly blared to life, and Logan knew their cover was blown. "So much for stealth," he muttered, his grip tightening on his rifle. The team pressed on, their pace quickening as they raced toward the generator. Malin troops poured into the tunnel, their guttural war cries echoing off the walls. Logan's team unleashed hell, their weapons lighting up the darkness with deadly precision. Plasma bolts and laser beams filled the air, the stench of ozone and burning flesh overwhelming their senses. When the smoke cleared, a dozen twitching Milan corpses lay on the ground, but Logan's people were still standing. "Move!" he barked, leading the charge into the central chamber. The generator loomed before them, a massive structure of alien design that pulsed with energy. Logan's heart pounded in his chest as he planted the demolition charges on key structural points. The plan was to bring the generator down, collapsing the energy shield and creating a diversion for the Retribution to strike. "This will bring down their shield," Logan said, his voice tense with urgency. "But they know we're here now. It's going to get ugly." On cue, the facility's PA system crackled to life with alien shrieks, and Milan troops flooded the corridors, their weapons blazing. Logan and his team fought like demons, their backs against the wall as they held off wave after wave of attackers. The battle was brutal, the air thick with the smell of blood and death. Logan's team took heavy casualties, their numbers dwindling as they fought their way toward the exit. Finally, they reached the surface, the shield generator collapsing in a plume of smoke and fire behind them. The Retribution was waiting, its weapon systems engaged as it unleashed a devastating barrage on the Milan forces. The shield was down, and the path to the palace was clear. Logan's shuttle lifted off, racing toward the capital city as the Retribution covered their advance. The city was in chaos, the streets filled with panicked civilians and fleeing soldiers. The palace, a massive structure of dark stone and metal, stood at the heart of the city, its spires reaching into the sky like the claws of some ancient beast. Logan's heart raced as they approached the palace, the shuttle weaving between towers and dodging enemy fire. The team disembarked at the palace's main entrance, their weapons drawn as they prepared for the final assault. The interior of the palace was a labyrinth of twisting corridors and massive chambers, each one more opulent and imposing than the last. The walls were lined with tapestries depicting the Milan's conquests, and the air was heavy with the scent of incense and decay. Logan led the way, his senses on high alert as they moved through the palace. They encountered little resistance at first, the Milan troops seemingly caught off guard by the speed and ferocity of the attack. But as they neared the throne room, the resistance stiffened, and Logan knew they were running out of time. The throne room doors loomed before them, massive and foreboding. Logan could hear the sounds of battle outside, the Retribution's guns pounding the city as the Milan forces regrouped. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay beyond the doors. With a nod to his team, Logan kicked the doors open, and they stormed into the throne room, weapons at the ready. The sight that met them made Logan's blood run cold. The throne room was massive, its vaulted ceiling supported by towering columns of dark stone. At the far end of the room, seated on a massive throne of twisted metal and bone, was Emperor Horus, the ruler of the Malan Empire. He was a towering figure, his scales gleaming in the dim light, his eyes cold and cruel as they regarded the intruders. But Logan's attention was not on the Emperor. His eyes were fixed on the small figure chained to the base of the throne. Her clothes tattered and dirty, her eyes wide with fear. It was Lila, the president's daughter, and she was alive. Logan's heart pounded in his chest as he took in the scene, his mind racing as he formulated a plan. The room was heavily guarded, with dozens of Malan soldiers lining the walls, their weapons trained on the intruders. The Emperor himself was flanked by two massive bodyguards, their scales gleaming with dark energy. Logan knew that a direct assault would be suicide, but there was no other option. They had come too far to turn back now. With a battle cry, Logan and his team charged, their weapons blazing as they fought their way toward the throne. The room erupted into chaos, the sound of gunfire and explosions filling the air. Logan moved with the speed and precision of a predator, his rifle cutting down Milan soldiers with deadly accuracy. But for every soldier they killed, two more took their place, and Logan's team was quickly overwhelmed. The fighting was brutal, the air thick with the smell of blood and smoke. Logan's team took heavy casualties, their numbers dwindling as they fought their way toward the throne. But Logan pressed on, his determination unwavering as he fought to reach Lila. He could see the fear in her eyes, the desperation in her gaze as she watched the battle unfold. Finally, Logan reached the throne, his rifle trained on the Emperor as he moved to free Lila. But before he could reach her, the Emperor rose from his throne, his massive form towering over Logan. "You dare challenge me, human?" the Emperor hissed, his voice cold and menacing. You are nothing but insects, unworthy of even my contempt. You will die here along with your pitiful race." Logan's eyes narrowed, his grip tightening on his rifle. "We'll see about that," he growled, his voice filled with defiance. The Emperor moved with blinding speed, his massive form lunging at Logan with a roar. Logan barely had time to react, his reflexes honed by years of combat as he dodged the Emperor's attack. The two clashed in a flurry of blows, the room shaking with the force of their battle. Logan fought with everything he had, his mind focused on one goal, saving Lila. The Emperor was powerful, his strength and speed far beyond anything Logan had ever encountered. But Logan was relentless, his determination driving him forward as he fought to protect the girl. The battle was fierce, the air crackling with energy as the two combatants clashed. Logan's team was locked in their own battles, fighting to hold off the Milan soldiers that continued to pour into the room. The sound of gunfire and explosions filled the air, the room lit by the flashes of energy weapons. Logan's mind raced as he fought, searching for a weakness in the Emperor's defenses. He could feel his strength waning, the toll of the battle wearing him down. But he refused to give up, his determination driving him forward. Finally, Logan saw his opportunity. The Emperor's bodyguards had been drawn away by the fighting, leaving the Emperor vulnerable. Logan lunged forward, his rifle blazing as he fired at the Emperor. The shots struck true, the energy bolts piercing the Emperor's scales and sending him reeling. Logan didn't waste a moment, his rifle slung over his shoulder as he rushed to free Lila. The chains that bound her were made of an alien metal, but Logan's combat knife sliced through them like butter. Lila collapsed into his arms, her body weak from days of captivity. "I knew you'd come," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sounds of battle. Logan allowed himself a small smile as he lifted her into his arms. "Let's get you home, kid," he said, his voice filled with determination. But as they turned to leave, the lights suddenly failed, plunging the room into darkness. A cold, cruel laugh echoed through the blackness, sending chills down Logan's spine. "Welcome, primitives!" The Emperor's voice dripped with malice. "I do hope you've enjoyed your little raid, because now the real fun begins." Logan's blood ran cold as he realized the true extent of the trap they had walked into. The Emperor had been playing them all along, luring them into a false sense of security before springing his final, deadly trap. The room was plunged into chaos as the Milan soldiers regrouped, their weapons blazing as they closed in on Logan's team. Logan fought with everything he had, his mind focused on one goal, getting Lila out alive. The battle was brutal, the air thick with the smell of blood and death. Logan's team was outnumbered and outgunned, their ranks thinning as they fought to hold off the relentless assault. But Logan refused to give up, his determination driving him forward. Finally, Logan saw his chance. The Emperor's bodyguards had been drawn away by the fighting, leaving the Emperor vulnerable. Logan lunged forward, his rifle blazing as he fired at the Emperor. The shots struck true, the energy bolts piercing the Emperor's scales and sending him reeling. Logan didn't waste a moment, his rifle slung over his shoulder as he rushed to free Lila. The chains that bound her were made of an alien metal, but Logan's combat knife sliced through them like butter. Lila collapsed into his arms, her body weak from days of captivity. "I knew you'd come," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sounds of battle. Logan allowed himself a small smile as he lifted her into his arms. "Let's get you home, kid," he said, his voice filled with determination. But as they turned to leave, the lights suddenly failed, plunging the room into darkness. A cold, cruel laugh echoed through the blackness, sending chills down Logan's spine. "Welcome, primitives!" The Emperor's voice dripped with malice. "I do hope you've..." Security, before springing his final deadly trap. The room was plunged into chaos as the Milan soldiers regrouped, their weapons blazing as they closed in on Logan's team. Logan fought with everything he had, his mind focused on one goal, getting Lila out alive. The battle was brutal, the air thick with the smell of blood and death. Logan's team was outnumbered and outgunned, their ranks thinning as they fought to hold off the relentless assault. But Logan refused to give up, his determination driving him forward. Finally, Logan saw his chance. The Emperor's bodyguards had been drawn away by the fighting, leaving the Emperor vulnerable. Logan lunged forward, his rifle blazing as he fired at the Emperor. The shot struck true, the energy bolts piercing the Emperor's scales and sending him reeling. Logan didn't waste a moment, his rifle slung over his shoulder as he rushed to free Lila. The chains that bound her were made of an alien metal, but Logan's combat knife sliced through them like butter. Lila collapsed into his arms, her body weak from days of captivity. "I knew you'd come," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sounds of battle. Logan allowed himself a small smile as he lifted her into his arms. "Let's get you home, kid," he said, his voice filled with determination. But as they turned to leave, the lights suddenly failed, plunging the room into darkness. A cold, cruel laugh echoed through the blackness, sending chills down Logan's spine. "Welcome, primitives," the Emperor's voice dripped with malice. "I do hope you've enjoyed your little raid, because now the real fun begins." Logan's blood ran cold as he realized the true extent of the trap they had walked into. The Emperor had been playing them all along, luring them into a false with everything he had, his mind racing to find a way out of the impossible situation. The darkness was thick, almost palpable, and the sounds of battle were disorienting in the confined space. Logan's heart pounded in his chest as he strained to hear over the cacophony, his grip on Lila tightening as he felt the cold weight of desperation settle in. The Emperor's voice, full of malicious glee, echoed through the throne room, a chilling reminder that they were trapped in a situation that had been carefully orchestrated by a mind far more cunning and cruel than any they had faced before. Logan's team was scattered, fighting blind in the pitch-black room. The Milan soldiers had the advantage now, their vision adapted to the darkness, while Logan's team struggled to fend off the relentless assault. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air, their eerie green glow casting fleeting shadows on the walls, but providing little illumination in the oppressive blackness. Logan's comms crackled with the sounds of his team's frantic shouts, but the signals were weak, distorted by the interference from the alien technology embedded in the palace's walls. "Lila, hold on tight," Logan whispered, his voice barely audible over the noise. He shifted her weight in his arms, trying to keep her as safe as possible while he formulated a plan. He knew they couldn't stay in the throne room. They had to find a way out, and fast. His mind raced through the palace schematics he had memorized during the mission briefing, searching for an escape route. The palace was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, many of which were designed to confuse and trap intruders. But Logan was determined to find a way through. "Team, regroup on my position," Logan barked into his comm, hoping that his voice would reach his scattered comrades. He couldn't afford to lose them now, not when they were so close to completing their mission. His heart sank as the only response was static and the occasional burst of gunfire. The Milan were closing in, and Logan knew that if they didn't move soon, they would be overwhelmed. Desperation gave way to a surge of adrenaline as Logan made a split-second decision. He activated the emergency beacon on his wrist, a signal that would send a burst of electromagnetic energy through the area, momentarily disrupting the Milan's communications and giving his team a chance to regroup. The beacon emitted a high-pitched whine as it charged, and Logan braced himself for the inevitable backlash from the alien forces. A blinding flash of light erupted from the beacon, cutting through the darkness and sending shockwaves through the room. The Milan soldiers reeled, their advanced senses temporarily overloaded by the burst of energy. Logan took advantage of the momentary confusion to move, his feet pounding against the stone floor as he made for the nearest exit. He could feel Lila's small form clinging to him, her body trembling with fear but her grip steady.